Sheil Kapadia joining us now in the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. And Sheil, we were just talking the other day about, hey, the Seahawks feel like they're first in power rankings, second, maybe third, fourth for quite a few outlets right now, but everyone feels a little hesitant to say they're a Super Bowl team. And we were talking with Aaron Schatz, and he just pointed out the elephant in the room and goes, oh, well, yeah, Sam Darnold. That's why people are probably hesitating. When you look at this team, and I did, just spoiler alert, listen to your NFC playoff prediction earlier, so I know you have them winning the division, but do you have that same hesitation with Darnold?
I think a little bit, probably. Just because he hasn't done it before. So when you start comparing the Seahawks to the other teams in the NFC, and you say, all right, the Rams, Matthew Stafford has won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. They've played well in very big moments in the playoffs in their past. And with Darnold, it doesn't mean he can't do it. It doesn't mean he won't do it. It just means, all right, well, we haven't seen it yet, so let's maybe proceed with a little bit of caution. But there's no doubt in my mind that they are on the short list of Super Bowl contenders, and the way they've played this year, just dominating teams. They blow teams out and they don't get blown out. That's when you look at it, that's like, oh, okay, they're going to be in every game, and they're taking care of business and they're not messing around. So I think they check off a lot of boxes, but yeah, I do understand a little bit of hesitancy there.
You mentioned, them blowing teams out and not being blown out. They do have two losses to some pretty good teams, right? You got the Niners and you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which makes this week just that much more important, as a measuring stick. How good is this team really? What do you think will be the deciding factor when the Seahawks play the Rams?
Oh, man, I'm so excited about just kind of the chess match between Mcvay and Mike Macdonald. I mean, I think there's a strong case that that's the best offensive play caller and the best defensive play caller in the NFL. And this Rams offense has really evolved this year. There's really nothing they don't do well. You're not going to go in and surprise them or come up with some huge wrinkle with your game plan. But at the same time, with the way that Seahawks defense is playing, with the way their pass rush specifically, I think that's the big thing. When you face great offenses, we've seen it over the years. When you look at the playoffs and guys like Patrick Mahomes, it's like, well, when do they actually lose? When does the offense actually not look good? And so many times it's just, all right, an opposing defense was able to pressure them with 4, didn't have to blitz a lot, broke down their protections. And so that, to me, is the most interesting aspect of this. Can you pressure Stafford? Can you force him into some negative plays? Because I don't think you're going to completely shut them down, but I do think the Seahawks have a better chance than basically any other defense in the NFL to at least slow them down and then create some explosives on offense and come out of there with a win.
I wanted to look at the Seahawks offense for a little bit of this matchup, and in particular, the run game. We know that the pass game is not only explosive, but the JSN is leading all receivers in yards. Sam Darnold looks exceptional. They are turning the ball over as an offense with some fumbles, but some of those are bad luck. Either way, the run game is really fascinating to me because it's typically the knock, fairly, Sheil, that I think a lot of people give Seattle's offense, but it's also led to fewer sacks. It's led to some nice play action opportunities. How do you gauge what kind of value, or lack thereof, it's bringing Seattle right now?
Yeah, I felt like last week it started to get going a little bit. Yeah. Now, that was a one-game sample, so we'll see if they can keep it going. But, yeah, I thought they ran the ball pretty well last week. I think their whole offense, and I know Greg Olsen on the broadcast and even on social media has mentioned this before, their whole offense is predicated on we're going to go with big personnel, multiple tight ends on the field on early downs. And then if you're a defense, you say, all right, well, we better put our big guys on the field to stop the run. And then they hit you with the play action and create explosive plays downfield. So it's going to be interesting to see, will defenses continue to play them that way? Or will they say, no, we're just, we don't think you can really gash us running the football, so we're going to be comfortable playing with whatever it is, nickel personnel, 5 defensive backs. And if you want to try to run the ball on us, go ahead, but we're not just going to give up those explosive plays that you've been feasting on here. So I don't know if that might happen this week. We'll see what the Rams do on those early downs. I think that's a key to watch. First and second down, are the Seahawks just committed to running the football? Can they run the football? And are the Rams defending them, saying, hey, we want to stop the run? Or are they saying, you can run the ball a little bit, but we're going to stop those explosive plays?
What I like about offenses like what the Rams do, and even the Niners, it's like, all right, well, you can have a couple guys down, but the system is going to get guys open. With that being said, what's the status of Devontae Adams? And if he's not in there, how do you think this offense can change?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to go. I know the injury reports will come out later today. I know it was an oblique thing that he had last week. I think he said he could have gone back in the game, so we'll see. He has been a tremendous red zone threat for them. I think he's got 9 touchdowns. I think he leads all wide receivers. So early in the season, it was a little shaky with his chemistry with Matthew Stafford, which is understandable when they're playing together for the first time, but they've really found their connection as the season has gone on. So if he's not there, I think the red zone is a big area to watch. You know, is it a bend but don't break type deal where, hey, the Rams might move the football, but if they have to settle for field goals, then the Seahawks still have a great chance to win there. But, man, Puka Nacua, he's still there, and he is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL as far as I'm concerned, and so they still have kind of their go-to guy in that offense regardless.
I'm having a hard time figuring out what to make of San Francisco. No disrespect to Arizona, who just lost Marvin Harrison for a little while here. But I feel like San Francisco could still be a wild card, even though they're very banged up. They're getting a few of these guys back. It makes your final game against them a little tricky. You still have 2 more to play against the Rams. Do you see them as a wild card here or threatening either the Rams or Seattle?
I think I see them more as a wild card team, not as an NFC West. I mean, they could. They've just sort of hung around, and you keep looking at the standings every week and being like, oh, they're still kind of in there. And then every week they have another guy go down with an injury. I think offensively what they've done has been very impressive with Mac Jones starting 8 games, and now I think they're going to get Ricky Pearsall, their wide receiver, back, and Brock Purdy comes back at some point. So I think they can move the football most weeks, and that usually gives you a chance. But, man, defensively, when you lose Bosa and Warner for the year, I just think you've started to see them come apart a little bit. And when they face good offenses like they did last week against the Rams, you can't lose your 2 superstars, 2 of the best players at their positions in the NFL, and expect that you're not going to have a massive drop-off. So for that reason, I don't really take them seriously as like a Super Bowl contender in the NFC. You know, I would have 5-6 teams probably ahead of them in the NFC in terms of likelihood to get to the Super Bowl, but that doesn't mean they're irrelevant. I think they could certainly spring some upsets here in the second half of the season. I think they can make the playoffs. And again, with Shanahan, with that offense, I think they can hang around in a lot of these games.
Hey, the tough thing about just football is that you have 1 game a week, and then you have a full week to just dissect everything, right? I could make an argument that the Seahawks aren't contenders if I wanted to, just because, you know, there's a lot of time and a lot of film to watch. But if there's something that you still are looking to see from the Seahawks, what would it be? I
think it's, you know, when they get behind in a game and have to throw the football, what does the offense look like? You know, they're just jumping on these teams and winning 35-0 in the second quarter. It feels like every week I look up and they're up by, 3, 4, 5 touchdowns in the second quarter. I know I looked at it last week, and I think they had attempted fewer passes than any other team in the NFL when trailing. And so what I mentioned earlier with the way their offense is really built, which is, hey, you don't know if we're going to run or pass. And when you think we're going to run, that's when we're going to hit you over the top with explosive passes. If they're in a situation where they have to pass, they're down, 2 possessions in the fourth quarter, and the opponent knows, all right, we're not really worried about you running the ball right now. We know you have to pass it. Can they pass it in those situations? I mean, I think there's a likelihood that they can with the way they've been playing, but that's just kind of the one thing I want to see. And maybe we see it this weekend against the Rams when they face a formidable opponent. But that's the one thing I kind of have my eye on with them going forward here.
I would probably have the Rams and Seahawks combating for maybe my best team in the NFC right now, with plenty of bias that I will fully admit. But I want to take a look at another here, and this one entered the season as the favorite in the NFC. Sheil, you know a ton about the Eagles, and they're coming off a win, which is great. I saw Tom Brady ranked them as his top team in his power rankings yesterday. I'm still unsure what to make of them. They're so clearly chock full of talent, and then they've got these weird stats once in a while that I'm not sure what to make of. Tell me kind of where the Eagles rank if you were to do your NFL power standings, kind of how you see them right now.
Yeah, well, first of all, I need a documentary on Brady doing those power rankings. I've seen the clips. He's usually in his kitchen. Is he reading a teleprompter?
Absolutely. There's
actually
an intern
going through. Yeah, who's putting that together? I mean, I would be very interested in that Tom Brady content, just in case anyone is listening who has an in for that. But, Eagles are a tough team. You know, I think they've got the pedigree. They're the defending champs. They still probably are the most talented team in the NFL, and they've only lost 2 times. So it's not like, they've stumbled here. They've had the hardest schedule in the NFL. Really, it's offensively and with their passing game. It's a lot of the questions that you had with them last year. We're just like, why are there spurts where it feels like everything is so hard when you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts Monday night against Green Bay? And their run game really has not been nearly as good as it was last year with Saquon Barkley. So that's the other thing. They don't have that one thing to kind of hang their hat on offensively. I think they're so talented, and I think the defense is coming on that they're going to be competitive in a lot of these games. You just kind of want to see them have some level of consistency with the offense in the passing game. So I still have them up there. You know, if I'm looking at the NFC, I've got Eagles, Seahawks, Lions, and Rams kind of in that top tier, where I think if any of those teams made the Super Bowl, it wouldn't surprise me. And I think the Packers have a chance to get back up there, although they haven't been impressive here in recent weeks. But I would put those 4 in kind of my top tier in the NFC. And I think the NFC's been better than the AFC this year. You know, they don't have the star power at quarterback at the top, but you look at some of these teams in the AFC who are going to be in the playoffs, and I think the NFC has way more depth.